Hello, and welcome to M2GFMP, Mass Movement Geography for Mr. Price, or Migration Geography for Mr. Price Part 2, but we're not talking about migration today. A slope is what we're going to talk about. A slope is an angle of inclination or inclined surface. They can be subaerial, exposed, underwater, depositional, erosional, or transportational. Therefore, geographers generally study the hill slope, or in other words, the slope of a hill.
Slopes are open systems in which inputs to the slope include energy and mass. Outputs also include energy and mass. Yeah.
The differences between the slope crest and the base of the slope creates a store of potential energy along the profile of the slope. This potential energy is converted into kinetic energy through mass movement and erosion. Let me show you how this process is created. This is a seashell. When it is up here, it has potential energy, and when I release it, it will get converted into kinetic energy.
Wow. Very nice.
Slopes are rounder in humid areas due to increased rates of chemical weathering, soil creep, and fluvial river transport. And Macau's climate is very humid, so we can see that this slope is very round. There are a lot of circles on it. Haha. This is because the hot, wet conditions and the availability of organic acids accelerate rates of chemical weathering.
However, in contrast, they are straight in arid regions, largely due to high rates of mechanical weathering and sheet wash.
Other than climate, geological structure also dictates slopes development. Faulting produces steep valley sides, and rock folding can produce either steep or gentle slopes, depending on the angle of deep. These factors influence the strength of a rock and creates line of potential weaknesses within the rock.
Volcanicity is the process through which gases and molten rock are either extruded on the Earth's surface or intruded in the Earth's crust. And it is another important factor dictating slope development. The harder and more resistant igneous rock that covers part of the slope erodes less quickly than other surrounding rock types such as dolomite. Therefore, a steep slope can be produced, such as the Great Windsill in the northeast of England. Slopes that consist of many different types of rock of different resistances, and the undermining of harder rocks, such as soft rocks, are worn away. Therefore, this means that slopes like these are more susceptible to landslides.
Regular jointing into rock may increase the risk of movement, as well as increase the amount of water that enters the rock.
Regolith is the unsolidified material found at the Earth's surface, such as soil, scree, weathered bedrock, and deposited material. Because it is unconsidered, it is prone to downslope movement with the action of gravity. The structure and texture of a soil will determine how much water it will be able to hold. An example would be how clay soils hold more water than sandy soils, because clay soils have a finer texture, whereas sandy soils are made up of larger particles.
Aspect is the direction in which a slope faces. The dark side of the slope usually faces north, and temperatures are predominantly below freezing. However, the light side facing south was subjected to many more cycles of freeze-thaw because of fluctuating temperatures.
The more vegetation present on the slope, the less overland runoff will exist due to the plant inception and storage of moisture. It can also increase the chance of landslips. Dense vegetation causes a buildup of soil between trees and reduces surface wash. This deepens the regolith and increases the potential. Right, I almost got killed by a digger. Alright, this deepens the regolith and increases the potential for the regolith to move down the slope due to the pull of gravity.
Mass movement is the large-scale movement of the Earth's surface that is not accompanied by a moving agent, such as river, glacier, or ocean wave. Soil creep, avalanches, rockfalls, and mud flows are all examples of mass movement. All these movements can vary in strength, frequency, and scale. Some affect large areas but occur less often, like rockfalls. Some affect small areas but occur frequently, such as soil creep. Causes for mass movement. If the force trying to move materials on a slope is greater than the relative friction or resistance of the slope, preventing the materials from falling downwards, mass movement occurs. Gravity is the main contributor to the movement. The pulls of gravity moves materials downslope, as well as sticks the particles onto the slope. The mass of the particles and slope angles share direct proportion with the speed and intensity of the downhill movement. Water can also influence mass movement by lubricating particles and sometimes filling space between the particles. Pore pressure is generated because of water slipping into the tiny gaps. It is capable of increasing the ability of the materials to move.
The reduction of the resistance or friction of a slope is known as a reduction in shear strength. An increase in the forces attempting to pull a mass downslope is known as an increase of shear stress. Both can occur simultaneously, and both are responsible for slope failure. How does this shear stress increase, Julio?
Removal of lateral support through erosion by rivers. Removal of underlying by the undercutting of rivers or waves. Increased load on a slope, such as by the weight of rainwater or vegetation. Lateral pressure caused by water entering cracks and then freezing, because when water freezes it expands. Transient stresses caused by earthquakes.
And how does shear strength or friction can get reduced?
Weathering can cause granular rocks to disintegrate, which will reduce cohesion and resistance. Changes in pore water pressure through saturation during periods of heavy rain or a rising water table. Water reduces the cohesion of particles during saturation. Changes of rock structure, such as the remoldings of sand and sensitive clay. Organic effects, decay of tree roots, burrowing of animals. Orlando, can you tell us the factors that oppose downhill movement?
Friction acts in the opposite direction of motion and varies with the weight of the particle and slope angle. However, friction can still be overcome even on gentle slopes if water is present because of water's capability to reduce cohesive forces between particles. When cohesive forces are reduced because of the addition of water, material moves along the slope more easily. Materials embedded in the slope are subjected to pivoting. High levels of vegetation binds the soil together and stabilizes the slopes. However, it may allow soil moistures to build up, reduce cohesive forces, and make landslides more likely. There are several types of mass movement. The first one will look into the surface wash. This happens when the soil's infiltration capacity has been exceeded, such as when water drains across saturated or frozen ground after prolonged rainfall or during the melting of snow. Larger particle sizes in arid and semi-arid regions limit percolations and therefore causes more runoff.
Sheet wash is when unchanneled flow of water run over a soil surface is capable of transporting the surface regolith.
Oh my god, man. Look, Hamilton's in the lead, man. Oh my god. Yes. Through flow occurs when water is channeled via natural pipes into the soil. The energy it attains gives it enough energy to transport materials.
Heave or soil creep is the slow downward progression of rock and soil down a low gradient slope.
Did you know that raindrops are capable of eroding hill slopes? The amount of erosion depends on the rainfall intensity, velocity, and distribution. It is most effective on slopes of angles and between 33 to 45 degrees.
Also, at the start of the rainfall event, when the soil is still dry and loose.
Yeah, man, let's get this race started. Yeah. Falls occur on slopes greater than 40 degrees, especially on rock faces with little vegetation where joints are exposed. The initial cause of the movement may be down to freeze-thaw, weathering or disintegration, or erosion prising open lines of weaknesses. Detached materials fall under the influence of gravity, and the falling of material is responsible for in producing the retreat of steep rock faces and providing debris for sheer slopes and talus slopes.
Rock slides, landslides, and landslides occur when along the slip plane masses like rock or regolith move down the slope.
Rotational sides produce a series of or massive steps or terraces. Slides usually occur during to steep slopes, weak rocks, or undercutting to make room for the road or housing. A change in water content or a slope or very cold conditions can cause slides. Slides can happen on small or large. Yeah, I'm in the lead. Large scales. An example of large scale would be in the Vion Dam in Italy, where over 2,000 people died in 9th of October. Yeah.
That's it. And here's a big crash at Monaco. You have a 10-second penalty.
We're playing the game here in Monaco. I'm in 13th position. He's in 3rd. It's too good, yeah.
Make that second.
Rock slides are when earthquakes weaken and break away rock because of their massive forces. Montana was hit by a huge earthquake in 1959, which caused tons of material to move down the Madison River Valley, which affected the Madison River adversely. But landslides occur when the downward force of loose materials exerted by gravity in proportion to their mass exceeds the resistance produced by friction and cohesion produced by the materials. During periods of rain, water increases water pressure and decreases cohesive strength between particles, as well as adds weight to the mass of the particles. This increases the downslope force of materials, which could therefore cause a landslide more easily.
Oh my god! Where's Julio? The June 1966 rainstorms in Hong Kong triggered massive landslides that led to the death of 64 people. Over 2,500 people were left homeless. These horrible consequences was a result of nearly 300 millimeters of rainfall over the course of 10 days, compared to only 130 millimeter annual average. Over 700 landslides were recorded in Hong Kong that month. Hong Kong's high level of vegetation held back small landslides and allowed larger ones to accumulate and present at an even greater threat.
Weaker rocks, such as clay, provide the conditions for slumps to occur. When clay is saturated with water, it flows along the slip plane.
Flows are more continuous, less jerky, and are capable to distort the mass into a new form. Material is a small size. Flows can vary in speed. The speed of a mud flow would be fast, whereas an earth flow would be slow.
Avalanches are rapid movements of snow, ice, rock, or earth down a slope. Newly fallen snow can slide over old snow. This is when snow beneath the surface vaporizes and somehow, from ice crystals, friction is reduced between old and new layers, and the sliding of snow can occur. Avalanches can be triggered by skiers and frequently occurs on slopes over 22 degrees. They also occur on slopes lacking sunlight because snow is less stable on the other side. How's it going, Mr. Price?
Thank you for watching Mass Movement with Mr. Price, Season 2.
And cut!
Can we see how that?
Zoom in a bit closer. Oh, there you go. Oh, they're coming for us.
Oh, baby. They be digging it. They be digging it. Like what?
September.
Take that.
Next September.
This September. You mean last September?
This September.
Just try. It's really like long time.
Really
Can you like
soft.
slow down
Yeah.
so we can like...
Have a race.
I think we're good.
3, 2, 1, action.
Thank you for watching Mr. Price. Okay.